What's going on, guys? My name is Nathan, or ELEMENTofFROST, back here again bringing you guys another episode of The Walking Dead episode reviews. This one's going to be doing my weekly review video on The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 7. This one was titled Dead Weight. Alright, so obviously this episode aired yesterday, and by the way, just from last prediction video, I am still sort of sick, so my ears are plugged and I can't really hear myself speak very well, so yeah, sorry about that. Anyways, plus I have this big headset on, so that probably doesn't help it either. And I might be coughing every now and then. But I am going to do this recap or review video for The Walking Dead, and it's a very, very great episode, you know. I felt yesterday's episode, there was things tied in there with The Walking Dead Rise of the Governor, obviously the novel, the book. There's three novels out right now. The Walking Dead Rise of the Governor, The Walking Dead Road to Woodbury, and Fall of the Governor. So this episode actually had some tie-ins with the Rise of the Governor, as in where they were in the car scene and the walkers in the mud and stuff like that. So I thought it was very, very cool. Thought it was a very cool tie-in. And yeah, now on to the recap. Alright, so basically now it starts off the episode basically in the mobile home, like in the community. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, yeah, it starts off the episode in the community. So we can obviously assume that the governor and his girls, you know, the two girls and Megan, the little girl, obviously got taken in, and they obviously accepted that. Anyway, yeah, it starts off with him basically telling Megan that, you know, it's her move because they're actually playing chess, and the governor is doing laundry. Yeah, or Brian. Well, yeah, I guess it would be Brian, not the governor. The governor doesn't do laundry. But yeah, anyways, it basically cuts now to the screen where episode 406 left off. And that's basically where he was in the pit with Megan, and Martinez was looking down at him. So Martinez's face was full of shock, and he basically looks into the pit and he sees his old Woodbury leader, the governor, clutching a little girl. So he hands off his gun, and he hauls Megan up. And yeah, she sees her mom and her Aunt Tara. You know, that they're safe, but they're surrounded by a small party with guns. After a moment, Martinez lowers a rope for the governor to climb up. And Martinez's associate, or I'd say probably one step down from him, you know this guy, Mitch. He asks Martinez if he knows this guy, and Martinez doesn't really answer right away, instead asking his old leader if he had been on the road since they last parted. So Lily interrupts the conversation now, saying, you okay, Brian? And this is when Martinez finds out, basically, that the governor, or Philip, you know, changes his name to Brian, trying to maybe start somewhere new. That's where he finds out, and you know, he knows his name is Brian. It was the governor, or Philip, and Brian and Martinez exchange basically a glance, you know, kind of like the governor was kind of eyeing him to basically tell him to, like, you know, I'm known as Brian now, and don't blow it for me, is what I assumed, anyways. But yeah, now the name change and seeing him clutching the little kid or little girl meant something to Martinez. They can come to this camp, but with conditions, obviously, and Martinez puts it straight to him. I'm in charge, and no dead weight. So that's where the episode title comes from. Oh, wow, I have a really bad cough. But anyways, yeah, that's where the episode title comes from. Martinez basically recruiting the governor, but telling him that you can only join no dead weight. You have to pull your own weight. So now in Brian's new mobile home, or the governor, obviously, it's not the most it's not the best home ever, but I mean, obviously it'll do for now. So yeah, he basically he finds a flaw in the mobile home with a leak in the ceiling, and he basically says to Lily, you know, this camp is good and we'll make it better. Basically, you know, kind of hinting around to, this camp is good, it's not perfect, but we can make it better, hinting towards the hole in the roof that he saw. Obviously, that's not perfect. It was leaking, and yeah. Alright, so now, out on a supply run now, Martinez, the governor, or Brian, obviously, and 2 other men are walking around. We actually seen this in the sneak peek for this week's episode. We seen this in the sneak peek that aired last week. Yeah, so we've seen this in the sneak peek of basically them out on a scavenging hunt, and they were going through the woods, and they seen a corpse tied to a tree, and it said liar on it. So, we don't really know exactly what this means. It could be another group, obviously, that's just banishing or executing members of their group for doing horrible things, something like that. Don't really know for sure. So, yeah, anyway, they come into a cabin now, and Martinez, Mitch, and his brother Pete begin to hear noises. They basically tell Brian or the governor to go in first, and then they follow. And after a few moments, actually, walkers attack inside the cabin, and Brian or the governor obviously takes care of both of them, actually with a flashlight. So that was kind of fun. We never really seen any zombie get killed by a flashlight, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's what happened there. So Martinez is basically saying to Brian, I wouldn't have brought you with you into the camp if it wasn't for the people you were with. The girl, Martinez, basically tells Brian, as they're basically sitting down to, take a breather from the scavenging hunt. All right, so he basically says, you seem different now, changed, and then he asks Brian or the governor, "Are you?" And he nods, saying, "Yes, I am changed. I'm not the same person anymore." And yeah, so having finished rummaging through the cabin, Mitch comes in and sets down food, basically tossing beer cans to the men. They drink by the fire. Mitch sizes up the newcomer. I can never tell if he's winking or blinking, so I thought that was kind of funny, little lightening the mood there. I thought that was kind of funny, because obviously he only has one eye. The other one's covered by a patch, and you can never really tell if he's winking or blinking, so I thought that was kind of funny. But, yeah. So, yeah, now, outside Brian's camper now, back from the run. Obviously, Martinez shares alcohol with Lily, Brian and Tara, and her new girlfriend, Alicia. So, yeah, that's fun. Tara has a new girlfriend. So, there's a little bit of a relationship developing there. I don't know if that's going to come into anything, but, anyways. Alicia's the woman she met earlier in the episode in Martinez's camp around a picnic table. So yeah, impressed with basically the camp security. Lily gives Martinez a compliment. First time I felt safe safe since all this started. And Brian winces, and his pride is kind of hurt because he's been kind of taking care of the women and the little girl for a while now before they met Martinez, and yeah, he's kept them safe, and I don't know, it kind of hurt him a little bit because he's been doing his very best to try to keep them safe. Obviously, he didn't find any shelter or anything, but he's been doing his very best to try to keep them safe, and yeah. So now, yeah, the place, Martinez basically kind of brings up Woodbury. He's a place Brian and I lived in before it kind of worked. Guess I wanted that again. And Martinez basically says that with a shrug. And a short while later, Megan pops her head out of the camper with a complaint. Brian, the roof is leaking again. And Martinez basically tells Brian, you should fix that. And Brian replies, I'll do that. So, alone in the camper now, Brian unwraps a piece of duct tape before he can cover the hole. There's a knock on the door. It's Martinez. Almost forgot. Got a surprise for you. And the two men head out. And now it cuts to a scene when they're on top of the camper. and it's a little bit of a golf course, you know. So up here, that was a surprise, you know. Back in Woodbury, we seen the governor play golf on top of an old truck buried against a wall, and he just, you know, hit golf balls out in the kind of just out in the street outside of Woodbury, and yeah. So Brian, or the governor, hands him golf balls, and Martinez basically passes the governor his liquor, and he practices a swing. In between drives, he tells Brian what happened to Schumpert. He never recovered from Woodbury. He was attacked on the field by a walker. You know, he got sloppy, and then Martinez had to put him down. Martinez then brings up Brian's new makeshift family. You're lucky I couldn't do that again. We heard back in Season 3, Episode 13, when Daryl and Martinez were actually talking, having a little conversation, that's, you know, Martinez lost his previous family too. And, yeah, he basically says, you know, I couldn't do that again, knowing I was gonna lose him. And, Brian basically replies, I'm not going to lose him. And, yeah. Now, this is where the governor comes to fruition. Alright, so, Martinez kind of wants to share the crown a little, you know, with respect of what he was back there in Woodbury, what the governor, or Philip was back there in Woodbury. He kind of wants to share the crown, you know, maybe he wants to share leadership of the camp, and that definitely was the wrong answer, you know. The governor, when someone says, you know, I want to share the crown a little, towards the governor, when someone says it like that, I think it's just like his first instinct to react, you know. He was fine with him being a leader, but he cannot share something. So instead, he decides to take it. And as Martinez basically takes a swing at another golf ball, Brian basically takes one of his own and swings at Martinez's head. And Brian now hits basically Martinez in the head with the golf club, pushes him off the camper, and drags him towards the walker pit, screaming, I don't want it, over and over again. And there's a pit full of walkers, and he's dragging Martinez basically to his death. You know, he drags him to the pit full of walkers and dangles him over the edge, and the walkers take him into the pit, and Martinez basically gets eaten alive. And so yeah, Martinez is now dead. Didn't really see that coming at all. I did see him kind of turning on Martinez, but I was thinking maybe it would be a gunshot. I didn't think he would hit him over the head with the golf club, throw it off the camper, and then you know, drag him to a pit full of walkers. But you know, that happened, and yeah. So back now the next morning in the center of the campground, Pete and Mitch basically tell the crowd they found what was left of Martinez in the pit, and they suspected that he just got drunk and fell in while playing golf. And yeah, Pete's basically saying, now gear up, we're going on a hunt. And in the woods now, going through the forest for supplies, Brian, Pete, and Mitch spot a small camp of maybe 10 survivors enclosed in a fence of barbed wire for their protection. Pete suggests they should take them in, and Mitch basically says, you know, let's rob them. And Pete says, no, we can find our own supplies, and they head on their way. Now, there was this look between Brian and the other survivors that they found. Obviously, there wasn't the survivors didn't know he was there, but he kind of gazed at him for a little bit, suspecting he might do something. And yeah, now back with Pete and Mitch now. Brian basically hears something and walks off. The brothers follow, arriving at the camp they saw earlier. Brian shakes his head in annoyance and surveys the scene. Everyone is dead and the supplies are gone. One man, still clinging to life, attempts to raise his hand for help. Mitch comes up and stabs him in the head. And Pete basically tells his brother, you know, he might have lived. And Mitch replies with might have. So We're not really sure at this point whether the governor actually killed all those men or not in that camp. Maybe he went back on his own, or maybe it actually was just somebody else that actually, came by right after they did and decided to kill them and take their supplies. Maybe it could be a new group that they're introducing. It could be the hunters. Who knows? But anyways, yeah, back at Brian's camper now. Returning from the supply run, Brian's on edge and urges his makeshift family to pack, and they're leaving. Things are about to go very wrong here. It's happened to me before. I can't lose you again. So he's basically trying to get them out of there before he turns into the governor again. He noticed that he turned on Martinez. He killed Martinez, and he's basically realizing that I'm becoming the governor again. I can't stay in a big group like this, or I'll want to be in charge. I want to be the governor again, and he's trying to get them out of there before that happens. So yeah, now Tara brings Alicia. So as the small group now arrives down a dark road, they come across a scene that forces them basically to go back, and because the road is actually soaked waist-high mud and walkers. The road's full of mud, and there's walkers in the mud, and they can't go any further, so the only thing they can actually do is retreat. So the next morning, Brian is up early strapping on his gun belt, and Lily asks basically, "What are you doing?" And he replies, "Surviving." He heads out, walking over to Pete's trailer. Opening his door, Pete assumes Brian is there to talk about Mitch, and he's not. He stabs Pete basically and strangles him, stabs him in the back, and then basically heads to Mitch's door. Mitch basically asks, "Where's Pete?" And Brian says, "He's dead. I'm running things now, and I will do everything it takes to protect this camp. Now you join me. I promise you will never have to worry if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, because we will do the only thing." And Mitch basically joins them, I think, because of fear. He's scared shitless of this governor guy. One-eyed guy with an eye patch. It's kind of intimidating. So, yeah, he joins him, and now walking to the edge of the nearby dock overlooking the lake, Brian dumps Pete's body attached to a heavyweight into the water. He and Mitch will tell the camp that Pete died on a supply run, and people believe what they want to believe, and everybody loves a hero. So they're basically saying, let's tell everyone that Pete died heroically, maybe, saved his brother's life or someone like that. But anyways, yeah, now in the center of the campground now, everyone has a job to do. Fences, armory check, the pits, Brian is running things, and he basically tells the next supply run group to only use arrows. They have to save their ammo for when they really need it, walkers or other people. So now, the campground perimeter, Megan runs up to her aunt Tara, tagging her, basically, playing tag, and I can't be it, I'm on guard duty, I have to be a responsible adult, and then she basically hands Alicia her gun, and then decides to play. So she tags her niece and runs off. The little blonde girl chasing after her. After looking high and low around the campsite, Megan finally spots a figure behind laundry, and she moves the white sheet out of the way, and it's not Tara, it's actually a walker. So the walker decides, obviously, well, it doesn't really decide, but obviously it attacks Megan. And inside Brian's camper, Lily is tending to her boyfriend when they hear Megan's screams. They dart out of the mobile home in the direction of her cries. Megan scurries under one of the campers, but the walker grabs her leg. Tara finds them and grabs the walker by the ankle, and the flesh basically rips off. So I thought this was a really cool scene. The flesh is basically ripping off his leg, and he can't. Tara can't get the walker off of her because she's got no grip on the leg because all the flesh is ripping off, allowing the walker to get close to the child. Leaning in to bite her, Brian's gun goes off, and he shoots the walker in the head, just barely, just barely, almost biting Megan, but the governor O'Brien actually saved her. So Megan's now safe. Brian walks off over to the docks and looks in the water. He sees Pete, or I guess Walker Pete, reaching up from the depths below. So I thought this was really, really cool. this was kind of an homage to back in season 3 when the governor actually had the Walker hid fish tanks. So now it's basically saying, he's not going to keep his victims in fish tanks anymore. He's going to tie them to the bottom of the lake. And it was actually a really cool scene. I really recommend you guys go check it out if you haven't watched the episode. It was a really, really cool scene. Very, very nice. So, back on the road now. Hopping in an old pickup, Brian drives through the woods, parking his car in a familiar spot. He gets out, peers through the gate. It's the prison gate. And Rick and Carl Grimes, who basically are looking at vegetables in the garden, he leaves them and moves further through the woods. Peering through the trees, he spots Michonne and Herschel, and he raises his gun, he aims, and this is when the episode ends. So, very, very nice episode, very great episode. Another standalone Governor episode, except for at the very end, we get to see a part of the prison. So I thought that was very, very interesting, very, very cool. And I cannot wait for next week's episode. Next week's episode is Season 4, Episode 8, and this one's actually entitled Too Far Gone. And this is what actually a volume of the comic book is called, so that's very, very cool as well. And I'm just very, very excited for next week's episode. It's actually the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead, Season 4, and we'll probably pick back up in February as well. So, there is one more prediction video coming for The Walking Dead this year, and one more review video for next week's episode. So, until then, hopefully you guys did enjoy this review video, and if you did, obviously hit it up with a like. And I'm very, very excited for next week's episode. Very, very excited to see the governor maybe attack the prison. Definitely go check out the sneak peeks. I'll review those in my prediction video later this week on Thursday, which will be November the 28th. And until then, I guess I'll talk to you guys later. And bye.